So it is fine. I think most of the people will be knowing what is C or C++. So before going to the session, I just confirm this, like everyone is aware of this C or C++. Since many of the people are from different, like from the diverse, like the years, to second year, third year, and final year, I just need to give an intro what is the programming on HC. I don't need to jump upon who invented it and what are the things which is mixed upon the C. I just need to cover what are the things we'll be learning through C language. So consider C language is like a tool where you can give solutions for your problem from a core perspective. Like for example, you having a problem, okay? Like for example, it may be any problem like sum of two numbers and multiplication of two numbers, or giving like finding a prime value in a series of numbers. So it may be any problem. If you want to solve the problem from core way in the sense, there'll be no shortcuts in that solution. For example, if you take Java or JavaScript, you will have some predefined methods to do those solutions, like to do those calculations. For example, if you want to find the largest number in a given set of numbers, in JavaScript or Java, you have a predefined method. You will just call the method and you get the solution for that. But in C, you won't find any predefined methods for to do the particular calculations or solution. So coding on C will be difficult for you guys because it will take more programming space for you, but you will get more knowledge through that. So instead of depending on some predefined functions or calculations, if you are working with C, you will get to know the roots of programming language and you will get to know a lot of things from that. So through C language, we will be pursuing these things, and through that you will get to know more what are the things which is there. Okay, so as I mentioned, like C, like for example, there is a problem for you, like you need to multiply two numbers. Consider you are having two numbers like 3 and 4. So, in order to multiply it, what is the first, before solving any problem, we need to find what are all the steps which we can take to at least understand the particular problem. For example, if you take a problem multiplying 3 into 4, like 3 and 4, we are need to multiply it. What is the first step you need to think before doing this operation? In the series of steps, which are all the steps you will be thinking, which is the first step you will be thinking before doing this particular operation, like multiplying 3 and 4. How we will solve this 3 into 4? Obviously, we know the answer 3 into 4 equal to 12, but how the 12 is achieved in this scenario? Even people can chat, give the answer in chat if they are not okay with opening up. Okay. Okay. So if you like before solving this particular problem, like 3 into 4, first we need to think what are all the things which we need to achieve through this problem. For example, here we need to do multiplication for 3 and 4. So what are the other ways to do to get the solution without multiplication? For example, if we are adding the number 3 by 4 times, we will achieve the same solution when we are multiplying it. For example, like what I'm saying is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So that will give the same answer as 3 into 4. If it is 3 into 5, will be like 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So the thing is, you need to first check what are the alternate ways to find the solution for the particular problem. So there will be like many kind of solutions for the same problem. It's not like you will be having only one way to find the solution. There will be many ways. So you need to check what are the other ways or what are the existing ways which are there for a particular problem. So if I'm just asking you to solve a problem to multiply two numbers, you need to check what are the other ways for it. So one of the way which I said, now you need to add the one number, for example 3, by the other number which is 4 times. So this is another way to solve this particular problem without using multiplication filter. So so that's what. Before going into jumping into any solution, like before jumping into the problems of any solution for a particular problem, you need to check what are the alternate ways you can find a solution for a given problem. So by doing so, you'll be get to know a lot of ways to solve the problem, and through that you will get benefited, and also you're having higher chance for to find the optimal way for it. So just a minute, I will share my screen. My screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So here, this is the C compiler. People who don't know about the C compiler can actually, I will just write enter what is this compiler or what is the interpreter. Like for example, how the machine understands your code. It's actually machine can understand only binary language, which is 0 and 1. So by writing the code here, how it gets transpiled or compiled to the understandable section for the particular code. Like for example here, I have just written the header file, which is include and the main part, and there are 2 lines in this. So first, what is compiler? Any compiler, for example, if you take Java or even if you take JavaScript, any language which you take, it will not communicate with the system or the CPU, central processing unit, directly. It will first convert the particular code, which is you are having the understandable code, into an object code, which is either maybe a binary language or any intermediate language. Then that particular code will be sent to the CPU, and that CPU will execute those instructions. So ultimately, whatever the code which you are writing here, it will be converted into the instruction of set of instructions, which is executable by the central processing unit, your CPU. So obviously, for example, if you're writing a code based on CPU's performance, it differs. For example, if your CPU is capable of processing around 3.2 gigahertz, then it will process your code very soon compared to a CPU which is having ability around 1.8 gigahertz. So obviously, your code performance or your machine's performance is depends on your CPU's performance, but you can actually reduce the time taken by your smartness in your logic. So that's what we are focusing on. So here, the whatever the code which you are writing in this compiler, ultimately it will be converted into a machine code or the CPU executable code. Then it will get executed in the CPU and will find the result. So this is how you, whatever the code which you are writing, it gets converted and it gets processed. So I have explained what are the things which is actually taken care: coding part, compiling part, and the execution part. These are the 3 things which is actually happening. So coding part is like you are editing this code. So that is your coding phase. Compiling phase is before running your code. Like like as I said, you cannot run the code directly. You need to convert into machine code or the object code. So for that, you need to compile it. So what the compiling process is, the compiling process includes scanning your code and like checking out for any errors or warnings in your code, and finally it will convert to a object code. So the process which is used for compiling is tool which is used for compiling the code is compiler. So here in C we have many compilers like Turbo C, Borland C. So even we can create our own C compiler. Here I have used one random compiler in online. You can use any compiler for to compile your code. So this is the process of compiler. And after compiling the code, we have an object code or machine code. That machine code in C or C++, it depends on the operating system which you are working on. For example, if you are working on Windows 10, okay, and you have compiled your code, okay, that particular compiled object code runs on only Windows 10, that too based on your architecture, either 32-bit architecture or 64-bit architecture. And also before continuing the session, I want to clarify just focusing on coding skills will boost you up. But if you are having some interest on hardware, like for example, interest on what are the different types of CPUs, different types of OS. So if you are having interest on these, will boost you up more, because when you are writing some code or when you are creating some application which is more mission dependent, obviously you can have some knowledge in these things. So for now, I'm just telling you, you guys know what are the different kind of operating systems which are available in the market, maybe Windows 10, Windows 8, or Mac OS, or Linux, anything. So what I'm saying is, through C, if you are writing a code and converting the code to object code, for example, if you are doing this operation in Windows 10 and you are having the object code in Windows 10, you cannot run the particular object code in the Windows 8 operating system, because that particular object code or machine code which get converted is machine dependent. So C or C++ is machine dependent. So for example, if you are writing the code and compiling it there, you should run the code in the same system. You cannot run it in a different system. That is the major drawback with C or C++ to continue that for application development. Because obviously when we are looking for any application development, it may be web app development, or it may be any desktop development, Android, iOS, anything, any platform development, we will be first focusing on, if you are developing a particular application for Android, that application should run on any version of the particular Android device. If you are developing an application for desktop, consider Windows, it should run on any version of Windows. It should not depend on the version, or it should not depend on the architecture which relies on. So C or C++ unfortunately relies on architecture and the version, and it depends on many parameters of the particular system. So it cannot run as, like, it cannot be portable. Like we cannot portably shift our application code. So that's why we cannot use the C. That is the main reason which we cannot use the C or C++ for our application development. But still, we can use this for our basic brushing up our coding skills. And also, since this is the major drawback which I give for C or C++. The major advantage of using C or C++ is, since it interacts with machine directly. Like for example, if you take JavaScript or Java, any language, there you have some intermediate between your system. Yeah. If you take Java or JavaScript, any modern programming language, it won't communicate with your CPU directly. Obviously, in C also it won't communicate with your CPU directly, but here it will communicate with your kernels and OS, like OS, for example, operating system. The communication between the programming language and operating system is more like, it's very what I can say, it's very coupled with each other. You can say C or C++ compiler and your OS is coupled with each other. So we can make a system calls for your OS, and we can make the OS what to do in process level, and we have more control on our OS through C or C++. But in other programming languages, we don't have the particular control. We will be having some intermediate. For example, in Java, we have Java through Java development kit. We will be having control with Java runtime. Then Java runtime will communicate with the OS. But here we can directly communicate with OS through some system calls and through some kernel executions. So that is the main advantage we have through this particular programming language. So everything we are going to develop will be in a core level, will be from the raw basis. So you will be getting to know what are the things which is actually happening behind the behind the screen, which I can tell. So here, for example, if you take this programming language C, the code which I have written, we can divide this part. Like for example, if you take any C program, you will be having a one function called main. Okay, so this is the function which I'm doing. So whatever the code which you are going to write will start from here. For example, like in this scenario, how our compiler process or how our compiler will execute means, first it will check for the header files. So what are the header files which gets included? So here I am including a header file called stdi. So what is this header files? Header files is like you have some predefined operations in another C program or another file which you want to use it here. So this stdio is actually a C file, C program file, which is already predefinedly wrote, but it doesn't have any inbuilt functions for our calculations, but it has some basic needs for us to run the program. For example, here, if I want to use printf, scanf for any standard input output process, I need to use this particular library. Like if I want to use this statement printf, I need to use this library. So it's like a dependency which we need. It's not for any predefined calculation. It's just for our predefined, like our basic needs, which we want to give the input and take the output. So it is mainly used for input output operations. So how we are giving the output, how we are getting the out, how we are giving the input, and how we are getting the output through this library, it will actually perform. So first we need to include all the header files which we needed for our program to run. Then the compiler goes to the main function. So a program, C program can have any number of functions. We can have any number of functions, but at least there should be a main function. Okay? And main function, it should be only one main function, because our starting point will be only one section, not many sections. So if you take any C program, it should have at least and at most only one main. So here if you see, there is only one main function which is here. Okay, so main itself indicates it's a main function. So our order of execution will start from here. So the compiler will compile the code from here. Okay, and if you see here, there is something called int. So in C, like programming language C, you have different kind of data types. So first of all, what is data types? Data types, obviously your code involves with the kind of data, different kinds of data in your program. So what are actually the data? Data is like information. So like playing with the data is actually a program. So a data may be anything. It may be a number, it may be a character, or it may be a series of characters. In number itself, you have many kinds of numbers like decimal numbers, float numbers, or even fractional number, any kind of number. So specifically, if I want to say what is this data type means, and data type is like segregating the kind of data which we are using for our particular program. For example, if I want to use number, a normal number without any decimal, I'll be using integer. So if I want to use any character, I'll be using char. If I want to use any decimal, I'll be using float. So I'll be using these integer, character, float based on my requirements. For example, if my requirement is to just add two normal numbers without any decimal, I'll be using integer for that. If my requirement is used to find whether the given word is a palindrome or not. For that, I need to use series of characters. If my recommend is used to find, is used to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit, my recommend is used to use float. So based on my program requirement, I'll be using the data type which is needed. Okay. So here, if you see, this is the data type which I am giving to a function called mean. Okay. So if you take the mean, the data type which is used for main is integer. So obviously, when we are calling any function, the function definition is like it should have a return type and it should have a function name and the code of execution which is present inside the function. So here, if you see, this is the return type. Return type in the sense, after executing any function, that particular function should return in the sense should give the output in the defined return type. For example, the main should give the output with only integer value. Okay, when we call the main function, the output of the main function should be the integer value, like integer type. So here, if you see in this function, we have a statement called return. What this return will do is it will ultimately give the result of the particular function. So here, if you see, main function is actually returning a value called 0. This 0 is a type of integer. So if I try to give 0.1, this will throw a compilation error because we have mentioned integer type as a return type, but we are trying to pass a float value. Float value is a decimal value. So if you see, if you take int, the actual eligible value is 1 or 2 or 3, anything. Okay. So if you take float, the eligible values are normal 1, 2, 3 also is eligible. So that means it includes integer and also it has some decimal values like 1.2 or 2.3, 4, 5, anything. So it includes the integer values, which is the normal numbers, and also the decimal numbers, which I said 1.2 or 2.45, anything. Okay. And we have another thing called double. What this double is, it includes integers, floats, and it has ability to hold large numbers. For example, there is a number like 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay. This number is not sufficient in float, but it is sufficient in double. So the size of the particular number which we are using, it actually have more capacity when compared to float or integer. So this is the like the thing, a good thing for double. And another kind of data type which we have is character, which is char, which here like, can use this char. So here in this through this data type, we can actually have normal characters like V or B or C, and okay. And there is another data type called actually it's not a data type. And so these are the basic data types we have. Okay. So through this, in these kind of data types, we can have any kind of data types. And for example, here they are using integer. That means we are allowed to use only these sets, like 1, 2, 3, 4 normal numbers. So every data type has its own range. So I don't like we don't cover upon this range because that is an older scenario where we need to check for range and go through the for now, just have in mind what is data types and what are the set of values which will be covered under those data types. So not only in C, if you take C++ or Java, in these programming languages, the data types will be similar: integer, float, character, and double. So you'll be getting like what the classification, what is actually a data type. Okay. So here, if I mention integer as a data type for this particular function, I need to return an integer value, which is 0, is actually integer value, which is not having any 0. So here I can't have any decimal value or I can't have any character. Okay, I should have only 0 or any value like 4. Okay. So from this program, what it actually does, it will just print this hello world and it returns a value called 5. Okay. So the output will be hello world, and it returns the value of 5. So for example, if I'm running this code, okay, I've run this code. So what it does here, it gives output called hello world. Okay, and the value which I'm returning here is actually not seen in this output. Why we are not getting this value 5 in the output means it is getting returned, but it's not getting displayed. That's it. And who is calling this main program? Our C compiler is calling this main program. Okay, so we don't know what the C compiler will do after calling our main program. That is its own part. Okay, so our part is to tell what are the things which we need, which the particular C compiler should do. So here we are telling just print this hello world. Okay, and we are passing 5 to the C compiler after calling this function. So we don't know what that 5 will happen to the particular C compiler, because after the C compiler gets this value 5, it can do anything with the value 5. Okay, for now we don't know what it is, but we are instructing the C compiler to print. This is the one line. Okay, if we want to instruct the C compiler to print this value 5 also, then we need to have another line, like for example, printf, okay, and we need to give 5. So now when we run, it will print hello world. Sorry, just a moment. So now if you see, it will be having hello world and it will be having a value of 5. So we're instructing the C compiler to print what we want. So whatever the value which we return to main, it doesn't matter. Okay? We can return any value based on the return type, so it's not a problem. But you need to know what does the return type will do. The return, what the return statement will do means, whoever is calling, it will send the particular value which we have given the return statement to the particular caller function. Okay, here the main function is called by the C compiler, so we were passing this particular value to the C compiler. Okay? Later on, if you are having any other function, for example, so till now, is there any doubt for you guys? Are you okay with the explanation which I gave, or do you have any doubts? Doubts on the header files, or doubts on how the main function executes, or if you have any doubts on the return statement? Because this is the basic thing which you need to know. So that's why I'm just clarifying. Everyone is okay with the explanations I gave? Okay, I think everyone is okay with that. So we'll move on to the next one. So here there is only one function, which is main function. As I already told, we can have n number of functions for a particular C program. So here, if I want to have another, okay, as I already mentioned, what does that particular function will do is, a particular function will actually execute a certain code, and it will return some output from the certain code. Okay? So whatever we are giving in this return statement, it will actually throw the particular value to the caller function. So for example, if I want to include another function here, I can just give the return type for the function. So as I already mentioned, the return types may be integer, float, or character, or double, anything. There may be a scenario where I don't need to return anything. Like I don't want to return any value from the particular. So that time I can use a return type called void. So I can use a return type called void, and I can have a function name. It may be any name. Like for example, here I'm using a function name which I'm using. Then yeah, this is the function which I'm using for. And this is just defined. It doesn't. It is not actually called from anywhere. So even if I included this particular hello function, and I have given some printf statement like hello. Okay. So when I run this program, actually we will get the same output which we actually got now, hello world and 5. We will not get the output hello. Else here I'm having like hi. When I run this program, if you see, we are getting the same output hello world and 5. Okay, this hi is not getting printed. Why it is not getting printed? Because the C compiler doesn't know, actually knows, but it doesn't know whether it should be executed or not. Like we need to tell the C compiler that you need to run the particular function called hello. Okay, so through which means I can tell either we need to call the particular function. So here we are just define the function, we are not calling from anywhere. So consider I am calling from the main function. After the line print of hello world, I just need to call the function. So here I'm just calling this function hello. So what does this will do means C compiler will check. First it will check for the header files. It will check for the function definitions. Yeah, two functions are defined, no problem. Then it will start from the main function. First it will check for the printf statement. Everything is fine. Then it will check for the 16th line, which is hello getting called. Here it will check whether the hello function is defined first. So here if you see, the hello function is defined here. Okay, so here since the hello function is defined, it will give a check mark. Yeah, it is defined. So we can take this particular function call. Then it will go for printf statement 5. Then it will go for the return statement 5. Then it will. So everything is fine with this particular function, particular C file. The particular code in the C file is transformed to the executable object code and it gets getting executed. So that executable code will have a programming structure like it should first print hello world, which is this one. Then through function call it will print hi. Then it will print 5. So the printing order will be hello world, hi, 5. When you run this program, you see first the hello world is getting printed. Okay, then I is getting printed, then 5 is getting printed. So in which order you are going to print is dependent on the order which you are writing the code. So here if you see hello, I have called between hello world and 5. If I'm calling it after 5, the printing order will be different. After hello world and 5, hi will be printed. Okay, so through this you got to know how to define a basic function with any return type and how to call it from the other functions, either main or any function. So for example, here I can add another function, void hi is the function. Okay, I can call it from hello also. Like I can call this hi function from hello, and I can have a printf statement. Simple. So we are having 4 printf statement. What is the order of printing in the output? Can someone tell me? What will be the order? This program. You can chat in the chat window also. No problem. Is the order of the printf statements? Just give you a thing in your mind, no problem. No problem. Okay, which will be the first printf statement which gets executed in this code? Can someone tell? just the first printf statement. Printf first. Either it's hello world or hi or simple or 5. We have 4 printf statements. 5, hello world, hi, simple. So in this 4 printf statement, which will be the first one to print? So when our C compiler starts, the first printf statements it gets hit is this printf statement, which is hello world. So our first printf statement will be this hello world. Then the compiler will goes to the line number 20, which is the function which is called hello. Now it will come inside the function hello. Then the printf statement which gets hit is hi. So after hello world, hi will be printed. Then it will go to the next line here, which is we are calling hi function. And from the hi function, what it's getting called is the this hi function. Here we are having the printf statement simple. So the order will be hello world, hi, simple. Okay. Once it gets finished, once the hi function gets finished, the order of execution control will come here in the 15th line. Once this also gets finished, the execution context will come in the 20th line. Here, hello also got finished. Now the execution context will come to the line here 21. So finally it will print 5. Okay. So the order of execution will be like hello world, okay, then hi, simple, finally simple. So when I try to run this program, if you see, hello world is printed first, then hi and simple and 5. Yeah. So this is how the order will gets actually calculated, in which order the code gets executed. Everything will be based on your program. For example, if I call this hi before printing this hi, then the order will be different, because before printing hi, the hi function will get called and it will be simple. So it will be like hello world simple hi function. Okay? So everything is based on the code which I have written. So you need to be very careful with the control of your program. Just it's not like whether you are writing the program or not. You have more control over it, like which order it gets should get executed. Obviously, concepts like recursive functions there you need to have your control very much well. First thing on the website. So here it is very simple. So you will be obviously getting to know how the program control goes over, but later on, it's difficult for you guys to handle. So that's why which I keep on telling you, control over the execution context, execution context should be. So by now you got to know how you can define a function and how you can call a function in a basic way, right? Any doubts on this till now? Okay. Okay. So till now we have seen how to call a function in a basic way. Okay. A function with, without having any output, like it's a return statement, and without having any input. What I mean by input and output for a function. You should take, for example, here we have a function called hello. How we can pass an input for this function or get an output from the function. Okay. Passing an input for the function is through actually the parameters. What is parameters? When we are defining the function with return type and function name, we are giving this bracket, right? Inside that, if we are passing any data, it is actually input for the particular function. Here, if I'm passing a data like an integer and with the variable, Here, this we call it as variable. Variables are like empty box where we can store values based on the particular data type which is given. So here, A is a kind of empty box with the data type integer. So I can store any kind of integer values in the particular. Okay. So through this, we can actually pass input for the function value, right? So I can pass the input for the function value, and I have passed a variable. Then I can actually pass output from the function. Here, if you see, hello is getting called from main function, right? So it is expecting an integer value, an integer variable. So here, either we can send another integer variable or a value directly. For example, I'm just passing integer value. So here, what it does is, in the place of a, I'm sending a value called 5. Okay? So literally, I'm sending an input value 5 to the function hello. And I can actually get the output also by having return statement. So for example, here I'm just returning, I'm just writing a return statement with the same variable. So what it does is, this particular function is passing the input file and getting the output same value file, right? So consider I'm running this program. If you see, it is having a compiler error because what is the compiler error shown? It is shown the return type which we have mentioned is void, but we are trying to return a value of type integer. So that means the void is a return type, which means it should not return any value. That's right. So, but we are trying to return a value integer value. So here I need to change from void to which type? Can anyone tell? Here I need to change the return type. What is the return type which I need to give here so the program runs fine? We have many return types: void, float, integer, character, even double. So which is the suitable return type here? So here if you see, okay, here if you see, A is actually a integer type, right? So here also we are passing the integer value which is 5. So obviously the return, like the output which we are sending also is actually a variable which is of integer type. So ultimately we need to change this void to a integer type. Because if you see, the value which is sent from the line number 17 to calling this hello is actually 5. 5 is a integer value, right? Here also, what we are doing, we are just straightly returning the value same with the same value a. Okay, so the a is of the same type integer, so the return type also should be the same type of the value. So that's why we are using integer. So the main thing is, what is the value that return statement is actually returning? We need to keep track, and the same type of the value we need to keep it as a return type. That is the ultimate. So here the a is actually an integer type, so that's why we are having an integer. Got it? In what basis we need to choose the return type of a particular function? It is based on the value which is getting returned. So here a is of type of integer, so that's why the return type also should be an integer. Okay, so now if I run the program, it will print hello world, hi, and 5. Okay, consider I'm just removing the other printf statements. Now when I run this program, it is not printing anything, but still we are calling this function with passing 5 as a value, and it is also getting returned, but it's not getting printed because we haven't used printf statement here. So whatever the code which you are writing, if you are not using any printf statement, obviously we are not getting to see the output. So obviously we need to use printf statement. So consider we need to print the value of the function which getting returned. For example, here the hello is returning 5. So I need to see it in the printf statement. So how will I see? For it first, what is the type of value which is getting returned from this hello? What is the data type of the particular value which is getting returned from hello? Int, right? So I can actually have a either I can have an integer variable in main function, like for example int, and I have variable name anyway, and I can give like r equal to hello. If you see here, r is a variable with the type integer, and hello 5 returns a integer value. So here we can replace hello 5 with actual output, which is 5. Okay, so even if we give 5 or this hello 5, both are same because hello 5 anyways gives the output 5. So we can have like this, and now the r holds the value 5 through the hello of 5. Now I'm going to print this r, so I can give like printf, and here is the tricky part, how we can actually print the variable. Till now we are actually printing the values directly, hello world, hi, fine, but here we need to print the value inside a variable. So first, before proceeding with this, we need to know what kind of variable it is. It is an integer variable, the r, right? So for if it is an integer variable, we need to give a delimiter like percentage %d. C, we have some delimiters, but in Java also we have, but in other modern programming languages we don't have this. But since we are using C, we need to know what is delimiters. Delimiters are like if you are printing some value through standard input output library, we need to tell the library what kind of value which we are printing through delimiters. If it is percentage %d, we are printing integer variable. If it is percentage %f, it is float variable. If it is percentage %c, it is a character variable. Since here we are going to print an integer variable, here we are giving percentage %g. Okay? We need to give percentage %g, comma, what is the variable, which is r. Okay. So now when I'm running this, see here it is getting value 5. So when so here if I change the value like 90, now the print value should be 9. So whatever the value that r holds, this value will be printed in the printf statement. Okay. For example, my use case is whatever the value which I'm giving, increment in the sense like increase the value by 3 and return it. For example, if I'm giving input as 80, my output should be 83. My input is 85, my output should be 88, like plus 3, that is the output. So here if I'm giving 90, my output should be 93. Okay, so what I can do, so the operation is being executed in the inside hello statement, right? So here I can do like just give a, which is 90 plus 3. So whatever the value which I'm giving, here I'm doing just plus 3. So if I run this, the output will be 93. If I change to 80, the output will be 83. Got it? How the return statement and how we are passing the input and getting the output from a function. If everyone understands this, or do you anyone have any doubts? They can answer. It's not a problem if you have any doubt. Because obviously, many people won't get it on the first time. That's why I'm just make sure. I want to make sure because if there is any secondary students who's not even aware of C language, they can actually. Okay, I think everyone is okay with this. So through this, we got to know how we can actually write a function, how we can pass an input for a function, and how we can get an output from the function. Okay. So this is the basic coding blocks which we needed. Obviously, we didn't cover condition and looping, but this is the very basic coding blocks which we needed. For to write any program, we need to know what is actually a function. Is actually a function, and actually like how we can pass an input and how we get the output, everything we can do. Okay, so consider here, yeah, consider here we got to know how the function is getting executed, and now we can pass the input for a function, how we can actually pass an output for the from the function to the caller function. So my use case is like we are having a function there. What is the function? Particular function should do means adding two numbers. Okay, this is a simple use case. My function, you need to write a function. What the function will do means it should get two inputs and it should add those two inputs and return the output from the function. So this is the use case which you have. Okay, so how we can change this here? How we can change the hello function here? Can someone tell me? So we have three areas. One is giving input area, execution area, output area. In these three areas, which are the areas which I need to change it here? Plotting this. Okay. In this code, in the current code, for the particular hello function, how many inputs we are passing? This hello function, how many inputs we are passing? Can someone tell?
One and
We are passing one input, right? Which is only one variable A. For my use case, we need to pass two inputs. Like obviously, when we are need to perform sum of two numbers, we need two inputs. So I need to have another input here. So consider I'm creating another input with the same type D. In C, our operations are more type oriented. Okay? What's meant by type oriented is, for example, if I want to perform an operation based on two inputs, the two inputs should be of same type. So consider if I want to make the addition of two numbers, those two numbers should be having the same data type. Either it should be int or float, but it should be same. I cannot have int and float. If I want to have, for example, here A and B having the same data type, which is integer and integer. So for me, no problem. For example, here if I'm using the float, then one input having another type, another input having another type. So there I need to use explicitly type conversion. Either I need to convert the type of an output to input integer or float. Okay. Based on C C compiler, it may take automatically also, either it will automatically go to input or output. Mostly for the older compilers, it will take the lower range, data type, which is integer. But for now, consider the both, what are all the operations which you are doing, try to use same kind of data type for your inputs. Okay. Here, since I'm using integer, the both should be the integer type. Okay. And so we have successfully changed the input area. Next area is execution part, right? So what I had told, sum of two numbers. So in the return statement, I have used this operation addition. In one, I have 8, and in another side, I have 3. Instead of 3, I need to give B. So consider if I'm passing two values, those two values is getting added from the statement, and after adding, we are returning in the return statement. So we have changed the input area successfully. We have changed the execution area also successfully, and we have changed the output area also. Like in the output also, the return statement, we have successfully returned the added value. Still, we need to, here if you see, here the input I have changed into 2, but when the calling line, I have used only one value. So I need to give another value. So 80, so 80, 90. This is the two values which I gave. Okay. So yeah, this is the two values which I gave. And in A we have 90, and B we have, sorry, in A we have 80, and B we have 90, because how we are giving the input in the same order, we will get it. So this is the calling statement, okay, and this is the called statement. So if A is in the order first and B after the A, so the same way 80 will go to A and 90 will go to B. So those two gets added, and now the R holds the added value. So we are going to print the value. That's it. So when I run this, I'll get 170, because we are adding the 80 and 90 here, and we are returning here. A function can have any number of inputs, but can only have one output. Okay. It can have any inputs, any number of inputs. It can have either 3 inputs, 4 inputs, 5 inputs, any number. But the output will be only one, it will be only one value. So here, if you see, we are returning only one value, which is the added value. Cannot give a multi-output. Multi-output is not possible. Unless if you are using arrays, I will cover it when I'm using this. But for now, just think we can have any number of inputs for a function, but only one output for a function. Okay. So, does anyone have any doubts in this code? Do I need to repeat it? Okay. So till now, what we have covered is how to actually write a simple code in our C compiler. And after that, we need to check for how to actually call a particular function, and how we can pass an input through the function, and how we can get the output from the function. Okay. Till now, we have covered these basic things. So this is the basic coding blocks for your program. So actually, there are two sections which we need to cover, which is the building block section and the statement sections. So building block section is this: how to use a function, how we can call the function, how to pass inputs to the function, and how to get the output from the function. These are all the building blocks section. And another section is statement section. Statement section is how we can use, like how we can leverage the execution part if there is any complex calculation which we need to do. For example, I need to print the values from 1 to 100. This is my use case. How will I do that? Like, for example, if I want to print 1 to 100, okay. Normally, like, for example, if a guy doesn't know any alternate, like any shortcuts to do, what he will do is here consider what as a normal person who is not aware of any programming concepts. He will simply write printf 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like that, he will keep on writing till 100. Through that, we can achieve the process, which is 1 to 100. Okay, but consider for printing 1 to 100, it's okay, fine. But for example, if you want to print values from 1 to 1000 or 1 to 10,000, I can't keep on those. Okay, and if I want to perform any operations over it also, we can't do. So obviously, we need to have some shortcuts for it. So we have a thing called looping statement. So what does that looping statement will do is, in looping statement, we can tell how to execute a particular statement and how many times it should execute. For example, here what I'm doing is, first, my use case is I need to print the values from 1 to 100. Okay, so my starting value here is 1. My ending value here is 100. Okay, so first I will create a variable with starting value 1. So consider I'm creating a variable called I and with value 1. Got it? Everyone is clear till now? First, before approaching the problem, we need to first set the basic point of this particular problem, which is the starting value of this problem, which is 1. Okay. Then what I can do is I can actually increment this value by 1 till 100 times. Right? So I need to increment this value by 1 till 100 times, and each time by we need to increment this value by 1. So how we can tell the compiler to execute this particular code this much times, 100 times, 200 times. Thus we can do through looping statement. We can have 3 kinds of looping statements in C. It may be while loop, do while loop, or for loop. Okay. So the basic looping statement in C is while loop. So consider here we are using while loop. So I will use a statement called while. Okay, while actually is like a calling a function. Okay, here we need to execute, we need to give the while keyword, and here we need to tell how many times it should execute. Okay, so consider if I'm giving 1 here, what is this 1 means? It will keep on executing the while loop infinitely, because every time we are see what is the process of execution means, it will execute the line which is present here, then it will check here whether the condition, here we need to give the condition. Okay, what is condition means? Comparing 2 values or comparing 2 or more values, and finally it should either produce 0 or 1. 0 means false, 1 is true. That's it. 3 is less than 2, which gives 0 because 3 is greater than 2, so it is false. 1 is less than 2, true. So it will be a comparing statement, and that will give a result. It may be either true or false. So here, what, as I said, 1 is true and 0 is false. The 1, it will not change for any kind of execution, and infinitely it will keeps on gives true. So when it gives true, it will actually execute the line which is present inside the while loop. So for example, here I'm giving f hello.
Kumar helpinada.
When I'm trying to run this program, for example, I'm trying to run this program. So if you see, it keeps on printing the word hello. It doesn't have any ending. Can you guys mute your mic? I think I can.
Sure.
Varshit,
வர்ஷித் அன்மியூட் பண்ணுப்பா.
okay. So yeah, as you see in the screen, the hello is getting printed infinite times. It doesn't have any end here because what is the execution context is, first it will print it. Okay, it will check here the condition. Since it is one, it is true. It will print, check the same one, true, check. So it keeps on gets in the loop and it doesn't have any ending. So that's why it keeps on printing. Okay, so refresh this page. Stop. Okay. So here, this is the main area which we need to check on, because if we do a simple mistake also, it may lead to an infinite error, like infinite loop. So we need to perfectly give the condition, like for each execution, the condition value should change. In the previous program, I gave one, the condition value will never change for any after any kinds of execution. Okay, because one is a constant value, it will not change. So we need to give an actual condition here, which will return either 1 or 0 based on each and every execution. So for example, here, what I will do, I will give a condition like R is less than 100. Right? And inside the while loop, I will give like R equal to R plus 1. So this is the two change which I did. The one change, first change is I gave an actual condition, and in the second change, for each execution, I'm increasing the value R by 1. So initially the value of R is 1. Okay. So here it will check 1 is less than 100. Yeah, it's less than 100. So it will return the value as true, which is 1. So now it will come inside, it will print hello, and it will, what here it does is, the value of R is 1. So 1 plus 1, which is 2, and I'm reassigning the value of R with 2. So now the value of R is 2. So if again it will come here, 2 is less than 100, printing the hello. Now 2 plus 1, which is 3. So I'm reassigning the R value with 3. So it keeps on increasing, the R value keeps on increasing for each execution. Ultimately, when it reaches 100, okay, here when it reaches 100, 100 is less than 100, it will throw false, because 100 is actually not less than 100, right? It is equal to 1. So it will return false. At that time, the while loop gets stopped. So when you are forming any looping statement, you need to take care what is the initializing value and what is the condition and how we are changing the conditional value. So initialization value is here 1, condition is R is less than 100, and how we are changing it, how we are changing the value of R for each execution by incrementing with the value. Okay, so here the R value is getting increased by 1, the condition value is just changed, and the condition and the starting value. So now when I try to run this program, it will print the hello statement 100 times. This is the output. Hello statement 100 times. Okay. This is how you will write a basic looping statement. For loops, three things we need to check. First one is the initialization statement, which is in what value the loop should initialize, and the condition statement, which is this. Okay. And finally, the how we will change the conditional value through the statement. Everyone is clear with how we can proceed with while loop, or anyone having any doubts? Okay. Okay, cool. So this is the basic while loop. Okay. And here we can do the same thing with for and do while. Okay. So as I mentioned, there are three kinds of loops, which is while, for, and do while. We have covered while loop. So we are checking what is do while and for. Okay. So as I said, for example, if I want to do the same thing with for loop, what I will do is for, okay, instead of just passing the condition for while loop, what we did here, we need to pass all the three things, which is the initialization, condition, and the change of conditional value. So here, if you see initialization, which we are passing here, for example, r equal to 1. Okay. And condition, which is r is less than 100. Okay. And the conditional value changing, which is r plus plus, which is similar to r equal to r plus 1. Like, for example, if I'm giving r equal to r plus 1 or r plus plus, both are same. R plus plus means r equal to r plus 1, which I'm doing like incrementing the value by 1. That's it. So here also I can give like r plus plus. Okay, both is actually same. So in the for, I'm giving like the initialization statement and the condition and the increment or on the conditional value changing statement. So after this, I can give here printf, like what are the statements which needs to execute in the loop, I can give it here. Okay, so this is how I will give for loop. So when I run this, it will print hello 100 times, which is 200. While loop will print hello from 100 times, and for loop will print the same hello 100 times. Now we will check how to use do while. Do while is very similar to while. If you see here, what is the difference between while and do while is, in while, after checking the condition only, it will go to the execution part. But in do while, first it will execute it, then only it will check for condition. That is the only difference part. So that's why we call while as entry check loop and do while as exit check loop. Okay. So this is how you will define these three kinds of looping statement: while, do while, and for. This is how we will make use of loop to execute your program in a shorter span, in a more efficient. Do you have any doubts till now? Okay. So mostly I will prefer for loop, because in for loop we don't need to occupy this execution context piece with the conditional changing value or the initialization value, because in for loop, inside the for loop condition itself, we will give both initialization and the conditional value changing. So we don't need to worry about the execution part. So mostly I'll be using for loop for any kind of looping statement. So coming back to my previous initial question, which is I need to print the value from 1 to 100. Okay. Here, how we can achieve that? How I can achieve by just changing only one line. My use case is printing value from 1 to 100. What is change which I need to do here? Can someone tell me? So here, if you see, instead of hello, I will just print the variable R. So first time it will print, first time the R value is 1. So it will come here. It will, here also, I don't need to initialize it here. I can initialize it in the for loop itself. So I'll just remove this initialization statement. I will just declare the variable R, and I'm here initializing 1. Check for the condition 100. It is less than 100. Obviously, it is less than 100. Comes inside, print the value 1. Then it will go outside. Now it will increment the value by 2. Now it will check whether the 2 is less than 100. Print the value 2. Keeps on going. So now when I run this program, so with the delimiter, as I already told, for the integer variable, we have the delimiter like %t. So now when I run this program, so if you see 1, 2, 3, we have something called escape sequence in C language where we can format the output. So we have an escape sequence like /n. So what this /n will do means it will print each output in a next line in each line. Okay. So I'll give here /n. So now when I'm running this, if you see here, it starts from 1. It prints till 99 because we gave condition less than 100. So for the 100th value, it will not go inside the loop. So here I need to change the condition like less than 101. Then it will print till 100. See if you see from value 1 to value 100. If you keep on writing the printf statement for each output, it would have taken more time. But now using looping statement, it actually got drastically reduced. So this is the advantage of using looping statement. You guys have any doubts with the basic looping statement? Okay. Okay. So now we are done with how the looping statement gets executed. Here, consider I just need to print, instead of printing 1 to 100, I just need to print the even numbers from 1 to 100, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, I just need to print the even numbers. I don't need to print the odd numbers. So obviously, before printing this, I need to make some changes here because it will print all the numbers from 1 to 100, but I need only the even numbers. So this is how conditional statement plays the role. Is this way where we need to modify the output based on some condition. Here my condition is, if it is even number, print it. If it is odd number, don't print it. This is my condition. Okay. So how I will execute this? So if it is even number, print it. If it is odd, don't print it. This is the basic one, right? So now if you see, this is the basic conditional statement, which is if block. If else, we can call if else. This is same for every programming language. If you take even JavaScript, Java, any programming languages, this is same. Even for loop, while loop, it is all same. The concepts are same. Maybe some difference will be in there in the syntax, but the concepts are same. Okay. So here we need to write a condition statement. So what is the condition? If it is even, print. If it is odd, don't print. So literally we can tell if it is even, print it. That's it. So this is where we need to give the condition. So how we can tell whether the condition is even or not, like whether the particular number is even or not. Or what is the condition we can write it. For example, if it is I'm giving a value called 12, how we can tell whether the value 12 is even or odd? Mathematically, how we will find whether the value 12? Since 12 is smaller number, we can easily tell even. If it is a bigger number like 1024, 1024, how will tell whether the 1024 is even or not? So it should be like the value should be divisible by 2. That is the basic condition. The condition is the value should be divisible by 2. So what is the value here is r. The variable r is the value, right? So r, if it is divisible by 2. So divisible in the sense when we divide by 2, the remainder should be 0. That is actually the divisible, right? When we are dividing any value with 2, if the remainder is 0, then it is actually divisible by 2. If the remainder is 1, it is not divisible. That is the main thing, right? So in C, if you want to do add, we can have plus symbol. If you want to do minus, we can have the minus symbol. For multiplication, we have product symbol. For division, we have slash symbol. In the same way, if you want to get the remainder value after dividing two numbers, we are having a symbol called percentage. So what we can do is r percentage 2. This will give, for example, 13 percentage 2. What is the remainder for 13 percentage? Like what is the remainder for 13 divided by 2? 1. So we will get the value as 1. So literally the percentage, what it will do means it will give the remainder value of these two numbers. Okay. So what I was telling, if the remainder value is 0, it is divisible, right? So I need to check whether r percentage 2, okay, equal to 0. What is this equal to means? It will check whether the left value and right value are same. Left value is r percentage 2, right value is 0. If two are same, it will go inside if. If two are not same, it will not go inside if. Okay, if two are same, it will return true. If two are not same, it will return false. That's it. Same like while loop, but while loop keeps on executing the statement till it returns false. Here it will just execute only once. That's all. Okay. So now I will run this program. So here, if you see, it prints only the even number from 2 to 100. Okay. In this program, we have used a looping statement, and in order to process the loop, we need to make some changes inside the execution context of the loop. So we have used conditional statement. So this is how you need to, based on your problem, how you are making use of a looping statement and conditional statements is largely depends on your problem solving or writing a program for them. Okay. Do you guys have any doubt still now? Okay. Cool. Okay. So we have covered how we can two sections, basic two sections we have covered. The two sections which I told is basic building blocks for writing a program, which is how we will define a function, how we will call a function, how we will pass inputs to the function, and how we will get the outputs from the function. So these are all the building blocks for your program. Next one is the statements, which is looping statement, conditional statement. These are the two major statements will be coming across for your writing the program. So if you are very good in these two basic things, you are eligible as a basic level programmer. So these are the two main areas which you need to be very strong, because for now it may be very simple for you. It looks very simple for you, but when you progress through each and every level, consider it's a level 1. When you are going, when you are crossing level 10, you will be finding somewhat difficult. When you are crossing level 20, you will be finding it more difficult. So for each and every levels, when you keeps on progressing, you need to be very strong in these basics. Don't think these are all basics which I don't need to cover, but make sure you are very strong in those basics. Then only when you're going for upper levels, it will be easier for you to handle those problems. Okay. Okay. So I think we can end the session for now. So till now, we have covered the basic building blocks for a C program and the different kind of statements, major statements which we are using in the C program. How we can solve a simple problems like which requires basic looping statements and conditional statements. Okay. Do you guys have any doubts till now? How to write a C program? How to write a like how to write a looping statement? How to write a conditional statement? Any doubts? Even if you are shy enough to tell in the session, you can actually, since you are in the group, you know by number. So you can actually WhatsApp me also directly and it isn't to address your problems. So right now, if you have any queries, you can post it in the chat. Otherwise, we can end the session. Okay, I think it's clear. If you have any doubts in the future, you can ask me in the WhatsApp. Okay. Okay. So you can end the session. I'll share the recordings in the WhatsApp and also share the YouTube link for the recording session.